Okay, we're gonna go live now. So
Okay, so
just
the live
waiting.
is starting now.
Yeah, I think Dylan will give us a heads up when to start.
Okay,
You
no
guys are
problem.
live.
Are we live? Dylan, are you sure? Okay. All right, fantastic. So let's just quickly go in here. All right, lovely. All right, so good day to all the students and parents that have joined us, and thank you for tuning in, and welcome to Gift of the Educators YouTube channel. Also, welcome to our first live stream, the Study Skills Bootcamp. So, before we go into a lot of detail, just to quickly take you through who we are Gift of the Educators, a non-profit tutoring organization that focuses on uplifting students irrespective of their social and financial status. So, I will take you through more about the company after the Study Skills Bootcamp. But before all of that, just to quickly give you an indication, my name is Sahil Riochanda, and I am joined here today by our matric accounting tutor, Kadir. Kadir, over to you. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everybody. So my name is Katir Chule. I finished school at Liverpool Secondary. It's a small town in Actonville. I mean, not a small town, a small town in Benoni. So I've finished matric over there, and then basically I learned about Gift of the Educators through one of my friends at campus, and then it was a good initiative from my side, and I thought if I can make a difference in a small way, even if like not monetary or something, I'll be able to like make South Africa a better place, I guess, and that's always been the dream. So yeah, I'm really happy to be a part of this journey, and I've joined Gift of the Educators about a month ago, and I've experienced working with people and learning things, and it's not only about like helping other students, you develop your own skills as well. Like in volunteering and stuff, you learn a lot because it also helps in your CV. So like if you guys are interested in stuff, just like maybe message Sahil, or yeah, Sahil, because like I mean he's our head of the organization, so you can always contact him, and even like maybe things that you want to feedback or discussions or whatever, you guys are welcome. I mean, we all like a family at Gift of the Educators, and it's a really good atmosphere to work in. So not necessarily atmosphere, but like the online thing. But yeah, um, should I start with the presentation?
Yeah, so no, just a few more things from my side before we let you
Okay,
go straight
no
into it.
problem.
So, yeah, like Kadir mentioned, you can feel free to contact us. In the description below, we have all our social media links, our website, so feel free to either use that contact us page on the website. My details are also there, so you can feel free to just pop me a WhatsApp, give me a call, schedule a meeting. Just send me an email if you're a parent or if you're an interested school that would like to partner with us. Feel free. But I'm going to save all of that in terms of details about what we do, what we offer, and how we educate both those who can afford and can't afford it to the end of the presentation. Because again, the main purpose of this whole workshop and bootcamp is to teach you how to study. So the reason why we're offering this is because more often than not, students are unaware of how to actually go about studying and retaining knowledge and making sure that they ace their exams. That's a big thing that we've noticed, especially from our organization side and just general South African education statistics. Students are just not aware of how to study. And then we have organizations and companies that offer study workshops and skills and things of that sort, but they do it at a charge or at a fee. And we personally believe that basic skills such as studying and making notes and things of that sort, how to actually go about thinking about your work to make sure that you're in a mood to study, should actually be available irrelevant of costs. So therefore, we're offering this workshop for free, and we're going to take you through different things and that sort. Now, the reason why we need to ask ourselves why studying and education is so important is because we all would like to know, or we'd all like to be successful at some point, right? You sit back every now and then, and I'm sure that you think of things that you believe would be considered success. Whatever it is in your own mind, in your own state, you might think becoming an entrepreneur is successful, you might think becoming a doctor is successful, you might think becoming an artist is successful. That's great and well. But to become successful, it requires hard work, and also what's known as working smart, which again Kadir will take you through today, and then just give an indication of how to actually study and achieve those goals. Because irrelevant of where you need to be, you need to study something, even if it's not schoolwork in particular. We're not saying that schoolwork isn't important because it does get you to where you want to be. But for example, you want to be an artist, you do need to study different styles and things of that sort to get to where you want to be. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. And just a quick reminder, or two things to go over. You are more than welcome to leave comments in the comment section below. What we're going to do after Kadir takes you through the boot camp, we're going to go through a quick Q&A where I'll just address a few questions with him, and then he'll just answer as he feels fit and so forth. And secondly, just a quick reminder that not all study skills will be relevant to you. What I mean by that is different students have different styles of learning, whether it be written, audio, or actually via action. And again, Kadir will take you through that. So that really is it from my side for now. So Kadir, back to you. And guys, sit back, enjoy, make notes, and this session will be recorded, so you can always visit our channel at a later stage. And yeah, okay, over to you, Kadir.
Okay, thanks for that. So guys, I'm just gonna screen share on like a small something that I've put together, or well, I've had over time that kind of contributed to my academic life. But hopefully, you guys can also benefit from it. So let me just start screen sharing, then we can go through it together if you guys don't mind. Okay. There we go. Just um, Okay, there we go. Okay, so the first thing that I want to go over is training your brain. It's all well and good if I can study and memorize and stuff, but in order to get to that stage, you need to have steps to actually ensure that you are able to remember what you are doing. Okay, so basically, I just want to speak to you about a few things. Okay, so most parts of exams, there's always going to be something that is linked. So I feel that when you are studying that as a student, you need to find a link in your questions in the exam and the questions that you actually go over and the content. So what I mean by that is when you start to study and stuff, you need to actually think of it in a way, in an open mind. So if I'm reading something and I'm being like, okay, I have my accounting book here, it's at the beginning of 2013, entity X permanently employed one employee. Now, what does that sentence tell you? You need to ensure that your mind is in such a way it is equipped to handle what it means. I mean, it might sound a bit silly at this moment, but once you have an open mind to what is happening in your studies, you are able to train your brain to be better. I'm just going to go over a few points under the train your brain. And from there, if you guys have any other questions, I'm sure Sai will make this available. And there's a few extra links in the bottom as well if you guys want to go over. But yeah, I'm going to start with ensuring the learning material makes sense. Okay, so I did briefly discuss about learning materials firstly. So that's what I meant. So what it means here is once you read something, you need to be able to see do you understand it and not for the sake of remembering it. So if I'm reading something, let's talk about accounting. If I'm doing debtors and creditors journal, for example, I mustn't memorize that it's supposed to be a debit here and a credit there. I must understand why is it a debit and credit, or why does it what's the basis of something in which I want to achieve. So what I mean by that is if something is memorized, you have a less chance of actually remembering it. And but when you understand it, you don't even need to memorize it. As soon as you read something, you'll be able to apply the principles that you know. Okay, so that's what I mean by initial understanding. So understand it at first instead of just being like, okay, let me just scan through it, understand it, and then you'll be able to like be better at your studies because principles never change. Only the work, calculations, and stuff change. Okay. Um, so a few things that you can do is you can write it out. So what I used to do, okay, it is a time waster. I'm not gonna lie, but it wouldn't be a time waster if it's helping you. Because I mean, you can study for hours and hours, and you wouldn't be able to know what you are studying. But if you are studying constructively and doing your work, in such a way which is, even though it takes longer, it's still beneficial to you. Okay, so once you write it out, read it a few times, maybe go to another section, and from there, um, test yourself. Do I remember this? And do I understand it? Okay, so from there, once you write something out, obviously there's gonna be, okay, in our cases, like as you come to university levels, it's no more about the theory. You have to be able to apply it. So I can say that if you understand the principle, you'll be able to apply it because you can have a slight guideline on how things are done. Okay. And I normally speak to myself. I know I might sound a bit silly, but when you explain to someone else, or even if you speak aloud, like just reading in your mind, you read it, but maybe you don't understand it. But when you're speaking and um, you speak and you hear yourself, you might understand it better. You're using more of your different senses. So you'll be speaking and you'll be listening, and you can maybe even write it as well. And that can maybe also improve the way in which you remember things. And that's how you basically train your brain. In the other two documents that I have, it will address some of this more in detail. So I'm not going to spend too much time with it now. Okay. So all of these concepts, like ensuring that learning materials make sense, make meaning of your material, personal connections. So that's what I meant when I explained so far. Like, I feel that when you understand something and you, excuse me, you you understand it to a sense that it talks to you personally. So maybe put yourself in that situation. So just say they give you a scenario: a guy bought a car. um, the business bought a car uh, for about 500,000, and it's being used in business activities. So how would I treat that if I'm a businessman and one day, hopefully, but anyway, that's a story for another day. One day, how would you take into account something like that? Put yourself in the scenario. Maybe even change the name of the person there and put your name by it. I mean, question papers are yours. You can do whatever you like with it. And a clean question paper, once done with an exam, isn't really useful. So make your scribbles. It's fine to make mistakes. It doesn't really matter on how you use your question paper, but what you put on your answer sheet must make sense. Okay. So make meaning of your material. What is it about? And maybe if you want, make more notes on it. So a useful study tip that I can give you guys is, when writing notes, don't write for the sake of writing it. So if I'm busy with notes from my textbook, I can write it down, but I cannot understand it at all. And if what's the use writing it down if I don't understand it? So take the time to actually think about what you're writing. So if I'm writing some notes on the conceptual framework, for example, I must understand that there's various things that must be taken into account and stuff like that. And when it's looking at things like how do you record, how do you prove and apply and stuff like that, understand those notes, where why is it so, and why do I have to do it like this? Okay, so that's what I can give you for making meaning of your material and making notes and explain. If you can't, if the information on the textbook or study material is not, you're not understanding it, maybe Google some words to replace the other words, make some meaning of it. And like I said, if you are able to connect with it and make it your own, you can understand it better. Because with me, I can't look at someone else's work and understand it like that because it's personalized for them. And that also would be like, I can't be able to look at their work and be like, okay, I understand, because it's not my own. But once you make it your own, you add meaning to it. And that also joins or like connects us to the next subheading, which is connections with the material that you have. all the points that I'm speaking is more in general because I don't want to really read what's on there because I mean anybody can read and understand. I want to explain from my personal view of what happened to me throughout my high school career, or how I approach certain things that helped me in the end. And sometimes it, like Sahil said in the start, it might not apply to you, but it could apply to someone else because we all don't learn the same. So, but I feel once you train your brain in the subsection that you enjoy more, or or the different types of learning styles that you have, just say if you train your brain in an auditory way, or if you train your brain in a kinesthetic way, or uh, what's the in a writing way, or it's not the formal word, but along those lines. So if I'm able to do that and connect with it in my specific way, I can train my mind in such a way that I can apply anything. Because, like I said, the materials or principles don't change. It's mostly the the questions and the things that they try to trick you with. And sometimes a combination of principles are always relevant in or in exams and stuff. And that's where we fail to understand a lot of things. Okay, I'm just gonna, here's the additional resources that I've spoken about. I will make them available to Sahil, and he can communicate them to you on his various platforms. Okay, so if you want, you can further go through these things. Open, how do you improve your memory? Because I mean, if I am able to remember something, okay, it's different with various subjects because some subjects are more application. So in physics, it's more application. You might have a few theory questions here and there, but it's mostly calculations that gives you the marks. However, in a subject such as maybe business studies or something, you need to have a different approach to actually understand that subject better and to learn the various things. Because if you need to state the theory, once you understand the theory, you can put in your own words, but the principle will remain the same, in the sense that they can understand what you have written, and they will they will be satisfied that you know your work that is being communicated. Okay, so Saya, would you like to add anything
Um,
before I?
so in terms of training your brain, I think there was just one thing I would like to add, and before you go on to the next section, obviously, and that would mainly be, let's look at mindset quickly, right? So when I talk about mindset, obviously we're going to go into, there'll be a proper video. So as a lot of you may have noticed, we have quite a few motivational videos on our channel. So there's different playlists about us, motivational videos, and now the workshop playlist, and we'll add in a mindset video as well. But just to touch on it quickly, it's important to understand one's mindset, and that will also determine your approach towards studying. It'll determine your attitude basically. So we have two different types of mindsets mainly, right? We're looking at a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. Now, some of you may be familiar with this term, some of you may not. So let's quickly just discuss it and then see how it actually affects the way that we study. So, quickly looking at a fixed mindset, what does a fixed mindset mean? Well, whenever we think of the word fixed, we obviously think of something that's stationary, that's static, that's not moving. So, a fixed mindset basically means that you're an individual that thinks that you're born with a certain amount of talent and that you can't grow that amount of talent, that you can't grow the gifts that you have, that you can't adapt and take on more gifts. Basically, the knowledge that you have is capped. And then you're always going to think to yourself, if I fail and if I'm not succeeding, then it's because of who I am. It's how I'm born, right? But that's not the case. You should never think that way, right? Lots of people are stuck in that whole fixed mindset because that's the way that you're grown up. Basically, it's very evident in a lot of childhood um, scenarios and things like that. That's basically what we're taught by a lot of people that don't understand themselves. So we need to try and get out of that phase. So in summary, a fixed mindset is basically someone that believes that they're born with a certain amount of ability or potential and they can't change that. It's fixed. And therefore, when they fail, they feel like, well, it is what it is. You can't actually do anything about it. But when you transition to now what we call the growth mindset, growth obviously meaning growing, adapting, becoming better, improving, things of that sort. So when one talks about a growth mindset, things become completely different now. So yes, you believe that you are born with some amount of talent, but now you also believe that you're able to adapt, that you're able to improve, that you're able to learn new things, and that you're able to grow continuously. So the more you practice and the more you do things, the more you grow. And that's your whole analysis and outlook of life, right? So what now let's look at it from a failure perspective, right? Linking it back to our failure video and again training your brain, because this is very important to try and look at things this way. It's not something that can really be taught. We can tell you about the concept, but to take that first step is up to you, right? So when someone fails with a growth mindset, they basically look back, like sit back and think to themselves, okay, let's look at why I failed. Let's look at what I did wrong. Let's look at what I did right, because sometimes positive comments and assurance and things like that is very important. We never want to think of ourselves as failures. So all right, we failed or we haven't achieved what we wanted to achieve. Then we've looked at what we did wrong, what we did right, and now let's look at how we can improve. So, for example, okay, you left the test at the last minute and things like that. You no longer now in a fixed mindset believe that, it is what it is. Now you're saying, okay, I've identified the gaps in my knowledge and I know that I can bridge them with certain amount of past papers, certain amount of practice, certain amount of hours that I need to put in. You know yourself. You know whether you've procrastinated. You know whether you've put in enough effort. You know whether there was a family emergency. Even that's allowed in life, guys. Things happen. So when you fail, always try and adapt a growth mindset. So it basically takes out the punch from the failure. It allows you to look at failing as a way to grow, as a way to improve. That's the whole idea behind a growth mindset. So you believe in a growth mindset that your potential is limitless. And that's exactly what it is. That's exactly who you are. And you need to remember that. You need to remember how great and how awesome you are. So if you think that you have a fixed mindset, read a bit more into it. When we do those videos and we go a bit more into depth about it, then we'll talk about it. But keep that in mind. So, like Kadir mentioned, training your brain is really important. There's a very important set of things that you need to do, but then also look at your mindset as well. Not just how you do things and how to train your brain, but also shifting that focal point to a growth mindset. And once you do that, even receiving negative criticism, like someone telling you that you're not good at this, or you are X, Y, and Z, you won't take it as an insult. You'll take it as something to improve on, and then you'll work on it, and you'll prove that person that you can be better than that. And that's exactly who you need to be, and that's exactly what you need to work towards. So yes, it comes down to like a lot of motivation, being inspired, and things of that sort. And that's also why we're here as gifted educators. Not only to educate you, but also to motivate you and remind you that you are more than competent of achieving what you want to achieve. But yeah, in summary, that's the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, and that's your approach to study. If you feel like it's a fixed amount of knowledge, why would you want to learn more? But if you believe that you have a growth mindset and you have this growth outlook, this growth perspective, you'll keep seeking knowledge. You'll be hungry to seek knowledge. And even if you feel like you have more of a fixed mindset, right? You have there's evidence of growth mindset, let's say, traces in your actions. What I mean by that is just think of something you like. If you like football, right, you're going to want to learn about football. What I mean by that is you might be looking at the transfer window, you might be looking at different leagues, whether it be English Premier League or Serie A, things like that, right? Whether you're into basketball, you're going to take an interest, which means you're going to take an interest to learn, which means you're going to want to know more. And that's exactly the idea behind a growth mindset. So why think of it in a way where studying your academics is fixed, but your hobbies are growth? That doesn't make sense. Everything is growth. It's just the way that you look at it. So yeah, Kadir, that's everything from my side about fixed versus growth mindset. And I hope that makes a lot of sense, guys. If you have any questions, feel free just to pop your comments below. Let us know, and we can go into a bit more detail. But yeah, Kadir, back to you.
Okay, no problem. So, thanks for that, Sile. That was actually really interesting, and it's a part that I actually did forget out. But thank you for that. And so, what we can take away from this, there's a small summary here. I would just like to go through it and highlight the small informations that could be where you just need to write down points. Because I mean, I have been speaking fast and stuff, but we can just take a few important points from here. So, how can you make your materials more meaningful? Make it meaningful in the sense that you understand it. Point one. Um, and when it's meaningful, you understand it because it has meanings to you. So during exams, you can put yourself in the situation. Like for just say in another subject, because this is open to all subjects. So just say for biology. or life science, sorry. It's more with yourself when it comes to certain subjects, like just say your ear. Um, the various parts of your ear. Think of your ear as your own. It's not someone else's because you also have it. So you can put yourself in that situation in the sense that you can say, okay, this is the hammer, this is the anvil, this is the auditory canal and stuff like that. So it really depends on you on how you give meaning to your studies, and you'll be able to apply it very well in exams if you work towards understanding it better. Okay, that's basically a small summary that I can give you. If these techniques are good, if you use these techniques, you have a good chance of improving your performance in exams or assessments generally. Okay, so this is all references. I would also like to give a small reference to the University of Johannesburg for this. It's a really important part because of plagiarism and stuff. It does play a big part as studies increase and stuff. So these are the references, and I would also reference the University of Johannesburg. Actually, all of these resources are from the University of Johannesburg, so it's quite relevant and it will help you further. Okay, I'm gonna move on to strengthening. Sorry, excuse me, strengthening mind, your memory. Okay, so I'm gonna start screen sharing the next document, and then from there we can move. Okay, so um, excuse me, I just wanna. There we go. Okay. Okay, strengthening your study memory. So once I feel that this, I'm doing this in such an order that it makes more sense because didn't want to jump from long-term memory to train your brain. I mean, that's not a really good series of events. So I would say the strengthening your study memory would be the better the more relevant one to go to for the second part. Okay, so studying is difficult, right? And sometimes when you need to be or go to the place that you want to be in the future, you have to study, and sometimes the things that you have to do is uncomfortable. But in my opinion, you need to get comfortable with the uncomfortable because that's what's going to grow you. And same with fear. You need to look at fear in the sense that I fear it, but I'm willing to overcome it. And once you get comfortable with that mindset, you are able to study and do other things in life because studying is a major aspect, yes, but also other aspects of life is important. So always have that growth mentality, like Sahil said, and always overcome everything that you need to. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, like if you looking at your book and you're not understanding anything, take a break, a 5 minute break, look at yourself, think, what do I want to achieve, what's my goals in life. And if you guys don't have goals yet, because it's too early, but trust me, it's never too early. And once you guys understand what you want to do, you can work towards it, because it's senseless um having wanting to do something but you might not know where you're going. So if you know where you're going and you understand what's your goals, it's more easier to achieve something. Take
Yeah.
this as an
Kadir,
example.
Kadir, can I stop you there quickly for a second? Sorry. We've
No
had a
problem.
little request just to zoom into the document. Do you think you'd be able to do that? I think maybe some users
No
just aren't able to see the document.
problem. Can you guys, is that better?
Okay, that's good. Let me just move this out of the way.
Can you guys,
There we go. Fantastic. Yeah, perfect.
is that fine? Is that fine, guys? I can try zoom in more
Yeah.
if you
So
want.
if you have any other issues, please just feel free to let us know in the live comment section, live chat section, and then we'll fix it as soon as we can. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay, Kadir, you can continue.
Okay. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Just like Sahil said, if you have any questions, if you require these documents as well, just message him, give him a heads up, and he will be sure to help you. Okay. Um, so what I would like to bring your attention to is, like I was saying, the the things in which you do, or what do you want, your goals. So I feel that when it comes to things like that, you need to maybe sit down and look at your goals. And once you do that, things get easier. I wanted to do an example. So think of it like this. When this is just a strange analogy, but I feel like it would have more meaning. But yeah, so I feel that it's easier to be given a topic in a speech or essay instead of picking your own, because I mean, how difficult is picking your own? So I would want to apply that analogy to what I'm trying to say. If you don't have goals, you will not know what to do or where to go, what's your direction. But if you have goals, think of it as topic given to you, and you can work on it, and it's easier for yourself. That was just something that comes to mind when I look at that. But yeah. Okay, so let me not keep you up too much with that. So strengthening your study memory. Okay, so what is your study memory? Interesting fact, if you guys don't mind. Um, do you guys know that you only use 7% of your brain capacity? So that's really interesting, and sometimes you can push yourself to do better and just train your mind. And nothing is impossible, I guess. Okay, maybe at this moment, but in future, a lot of things will change. But that's just an interesting fact. But yeah. So, like it says here, there's 100 billion nerve cells in our brain. I know bio students are really passionate about this stuff, but I'm not going to go too much into detail. So, the brain continues to develop and build new connections as we get older or elderly and stuff. So once you do something the first time, you'll remember it, it'll carry on, it'll be as if it's always been there. And with me, I'm more of a long term memory person. So I would remember something that I did in grade 10 or something. But yeah, as you give importance to things in life, you'll remember it better. And at this moment, studies is the most important thing that should be addressed, and importance should be given, because once that is visible, you guys will be able to prosper in your studies and be able to do the things you never thought you could do. Okay, so there's certain procedures that we can adopt to meet certain learning purposes. In campus and stuff, we have come across large, really large textbooks. Like, it's really huge, and it is difficult to remember everything. But once you have your learning outcomes, or you are able to understand what is required of you, you use the extra additional information to build on that, and that helps you to understand better and remember, and that's how your memory gets better as well. Okay, so I'll go over a few activities after I'm done with the third document on the different types of learning styles and what could be done that would help to aid your memory. Okay, so I hope you guys can see the things, the document, but yeah. Okay, so there's a memory process that is there, and it would be easier to remember because it has the same beginning alphabet, which is record, retain, and recall. So it's could also be applied to accounting, because I mean, I am accounting tutor. um yeah. I just have a passion for accounting because I like to apply accounting for everything. But yeah. So when you record something in accounting, you physically go to a journal, and you would debit this, credit that. If you're in your general journal, or if you're in your CPJ or CRJ, you would basically do the relevant entries. So that's basically recording. Um, Another way that I can explain it is, when you write down something while you are studying, you're basically recording it, if that makes sense. And like I said earlier, you need to engage in recording it because it will make your studies more easier. Okay. And once you record and use your senses, it brings us to the next step, which is retaining the information. So if I am using most of my senses, if I'm using my hands, speaking to myself, so in front of me now, I would be writing leave paid out in cash uses gross basic salary. So I would look at it in that way and think of it. What does that mean? So leave paid out in cash uses gross basic salary. That was just a note apart from my textbook. So I would be thinking of making my own notes. It doesn't matter if it's not in the textbook. The way you understand it, you should write it down. And that would be better. That would make reference to recording and retaining it. And once you do that and you understand it in your own way, you can recall it. So if you think of it in a way, a lot of these things are connected. And if you have a mindset which is open, you will be able to understand that once I do this, I'll be able to do this. Okay, it might not happen at the first time or at the first instant to say I actually get it. There are different people that do um, read something once with a photographic memory, but there are others who has to work really hard in order to remember something simple. And yeah, that's just the way it is. And there's various ways in which you can use to combat your learning difficulties. And once you use it and understand it and be open to it, it will make things way better. Okay. So the main thing that I can look at from here is record, retain, and record. You guys can give your own meanings to these three R's, if I can say that. And yeah, I guess that's a small aspect that you can use that is interrelated to a whole other perspective. Okay. Okay. So here we're going to look at why do we forget. These are some of the things that we have been constantly repetitively talking about. So below are some reasons why we forget. The mindset. That's the main word. I can look at that. Your mindset and attitude. If I do not want to do something, I'm not going to do it to the best of my abilities. If you start training your mind in the sense that you understand that I want to do it and I want to prosper, I will be able to remember and get better in various ways. Okay. And your attitude plays a major part in how you study. If you are studying to an open mindset and are able to learn and grow and think of it in such a way that Sahil said, if you think of it failure or whatever, use failure in a way that what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? What is something that's bothering me while I'm studying? Try to overcome your things so you study with a clear mindset and a positive mindset. Here it says negative, and that's why you would forget. If you don't understand, it's because you haven't made it enough of your own. And if you still further don't understand, there are okay at this moment it is more difficult because of our world pandemic. It's difficult to actually get in contact with the teacher because in class you just go to the teacher and be like, "Ma'am, I don't understand this. Could you please explain it in a way I did make these notes, but I still don't understand. And if you could possibly help me in a way that I understand, it would be better." And it wouldn't be a bad thing to be like, raise your hand and, "Ma'am, I don't understand." Because chances are a lot of other people don't understand. And we constantly hear that in campus when we was in classes. If you want to ask something, ask. Because if you don't know and don't ask, whose fault is it? That's just something to leave you thinking. Um, don't don't burn out. Basically, don't work for long periods without a break. So don't. Okay, there are various people that can do it and they work better, but not everything applies. So if you are able to work for 5 hours straight while having water or snacks or whatever, if it suits you better, you can go ahead and do it. However, if you are a person that needs a break, what I was always told is work for 25 minutes and take a break for 5 minutes. However, don't work for 5 minutes and take a 25-minute break. That's just wrong. Okay. So if you don't, like I've been speaking about, your interest is very important. If you don't have interest in what you are studying, why you won't remember the things that are in there. And I did have experiences where I wasn't interested in something. That's why I didn't do something to the best of my abilities. But other than that, if you change your mindset to say, listen, I need it to help me in future, or like I'm studying accounting, I need to understand that tax is a module that has to be done in order for me to get my degree. And sometimes, even if I'm not interested in it, I won't major in it. However, it needs to be there so that I can get my degree. So I have to build an interest in it. Okay. Um. So what I feel is when you do a topic, revise it after a while and revise it again. It is time consuming, but hard work does pay off in the end. And when you revisit work and you are able to look at work and understand it better, because when you read something the first time, you don't understand it. But if you read it the second and third, you'd be more likely to understand the words because most of the words are already in your memory. It's a bit of a shock that it is, but it is there. So if I can basically read this fast and read it again, I'll understand it better. So when you revisit something, the main point is when you revisit something, you are more able to remember it and understand it. And when you do something and you leave it for a long period of time, you're not gonna you're not gonna remember it that well because if I did a topic today and I read it again in a month, I'm not going to know anything. Whereas if you revisit it from time to time, not all the time, when you do have extra study time that is allocated for studying, go through it again, understand it, and you'll remember it. Okay. Yeah, some tips to help you remember.
Okay, Kadir, can I stop you there quickly? We
No
just have
problem.
a question in the comment section. So what you mentioned earlier with the 25-minute study time, 5-minute break, right? That's also formerly known as the Pomodoro effect. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and basically the we have a question by one of the viewers. What if we need a longer break? So I know this 25-minute study time, 5-minute break is usually designed to help procrastinators, especially if you're a big procrastinator. So I wouldn't suggest changing it, but maybe Kadir has another opinion about that. So yeah, Kadir, what happens if you feel like you need a longer break? What do we do?
Okay, so I feel that from this question, if you do need a longer break, it wouldn't be feasible to take it because you wouldn't be acting at your maximum capacity. Because if you're studying for 25 minutes and taking a 5-minute break, there in that 25 minutes, how much of strenuous work have you done in order to get a longer break? I normally personally, when I take a break, I normally do it per topic. I don't do a 25 and 5. But if you do feel it's more prevalent and it helps you, maybe go for 10. I mean, everybody doesn't learn the same way. That was just a small guideline. However, you can maybe study for, if you require a longer break, maybe try and study for longer. Or if you want, try and study with interest because you would want to get back to working with it instead of taking a longer break. So there are some perspectives that you can look at it from. And if Sile has anything to add for that, he can.
No, that's
Yeah, Sile.
no, you've made a pretty good point. So everything is relevant. Basically, what we're saying is you can use that 25 5-minute break, 25 minute studying, 5-minute break as kind of like a ratio. So you could obviously extend it if you feel like you're more competent to study for 50 minutes, take a 10-minute break, then feel free. Otherwise, like Kadir is saying, studying is really up to you. You need to make it your own unique experience. So some people study faster, they grab onto knowledge faster than other people. Some people don't. So if you're a slow learner, then you know how to pace yourself. The most important thing is self control at the end of the day. So if you feel like you need to take a little bit of a longer break, like Adir said, 10 minutes instead of five, go for it. But make sure that after 10 minutes, you stick to 10 minutes. That's the whole reason why we say 25 minutes studying, 5-minute break, so that you don't procrastinate, so that you know that you need to get back to it. And it still gives you a little bit of time to just relax, get your attention span going again, and then get back to it. So if you feel like you need 10 minutes, that's okay. But most importantly, and you're the only person that can really hold yourself accountable, make sure you don't procrastinate. So yeah, that's it from myself, my side, Kadir.
Okay, something that also came to mind while you were speaking is, why would you want a longer break if you train your mind in such a way that you are interested in it? Because okay, it is difficult. Trust me, I've been there. I know what you guys are going through, and procrastination is a real thing, even in university, because the workload just gets way more. And when you procrastinate, you are really losing time. And if you're taking a longer break, what are you doing in that break? Are you It's a different case if you're gonna do something more constructive. Okay, not more constructive, something that needs to be done. Just say you need to go and have a meal, or you need to go and do some chores or something like that. You need to balance it in such a way which is to your to your liking, or to your schedule or something like that. So if you are taking a longer break, what are you doing in that break that could benefit you? So if you're cleaning your room, that's understandable. If you having a meal, having a shower, or you have some cooking to do or chores, then it is relevant. But if you're gonna be sitting on your phone on Instagram, that's not gonna cut it, because otherwise you're just gonna lose track of time. The 10 minutes is gonna become 20, the 20 minutes is gonna become 30, and trust me, I've been there. I know what you guys are speaking. If you are doing something constructive in that 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and you do need more time, it's a different story. But if you are not making use of that, then, or even family time, if you need a longer break to sit with your family, speak to them, like how was your day, like that's a different story. But if you're busy on your phone, Instagram and stuff like that, that's not gonna cut it, guys. Trust me, I've been there. I'm speaking from experience. I'm not that old, so so it's like, I'm still there actually. So yeah, let me just carry on with this. I hope that answered your question, and it does help you study for 25 minutes and rest for 5 minutes, or something to that effect, or 10 minutes, or according to you. But just don't procrastinate, guys, because you're that's really something that isn't great. Okay, so I just want to move over to some tips to help you remember interest, relevance, association, sequence, and understanding with activity. Okay, so I normally like to go through the list first and then go through each concept, but most of the things have been spoken about, like interest and relevance. So I'm not going to spend too much time with that. If you have interest in something, things get way better. That's all I can give you guys, and I feel like that's what you can keep in mind. If it's relevant, like I said, if you have a goal on what you want to do and it's relevant for that goal, if you're going to achieve that goal, it is relevant, guys, and it must be done. There's no two ways about it. And guys, things do get hard, and sometimes failure is a real thing. And you need to be open to that, because you can be getting 90s, 80s in high school, but sometimes failure in university is a real thing, guys. I never believed it when someone told me about it, but trust me, guys. So speak yourself up and always keep on moving forward. That's what I can say about relevance, and it led to moving forward. But there's always a link with everything in life. So yeah. Okay, so association. Um, your surroundings. I would maybe look at my wall and write something in my mind about it. Use that as studying, or look at your book and use letters, and that's how you remember. I guess that we'll get more into those details later, because it's more on different ways to learn. But yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. And understanding and activity. So your understanding and activity. Okay, activity I never really spoke about that much, but understanding was throughout. But activity is basically your different types of learning styles that I will get into later on, because it does speak about keywords, visualizing content, reading aloud, but it would be different for the various types of learning styles, auditory and kinesthetic, and visual. So yeah, yeah, there we go. So I will give you more tips on those as we near the end. And thus, I hope I'm not moving too fast as well. But yeah, if you guys do have any questions to go back or to you want to relook at something, just send a message in the notification or the comments or whatever platform that is being used at this moment. But yeah, so I know we all like acronyms. Um, yeah, that's a good way to remember it because there's also the SMART goals and there's way more, guys. But you'll always remember it if there's a word that is associated with a whole other meaning apart from its own. Okay, so here we are using the gulp strategy. In order to get it, you need to be present, conscious during the initial learning. That has been spoken about throughout, and pay attention and listen and use all the resources that you have, because someone that might not have your resources would be still doing better. Okay, maybe they might be a different type of learner, but if you have resources, use it. That's the bottom line. If you have different textbooks and you need a second opinion, go to the other textbook. Maybe that explains it better. Or, yeah, use all your resources, guys. And that's what I can say. Use it. And so happens that the next point is there. Review the material content immediately, preferably on the same day. That's what I was speaking about. If you leave it for long periods of time, you're not going to remember it. Trust me, I've been there. I studied something like maybe a month ago, and it's still relevant at this moment. But if I have to go back to it, I am also guilty of doing the things that you guys do. Um, because I am also still studying, but sometimes we just have to overcome it and yeah, just keep moving forward because backwards isn't the option. Okay, so use it, write it down, recreate the experience of learning. Okay, when just say you do happen to do something in like a month ago and you need to do it now again, think of it and say, what did I do to remember it a month ago? Let me do the same thing. And then once it becomes repetitive, it's stuck basically. Um, yeah, so link it with the things and picture it. So link it and then make a visual picture, draw it, just write it, or whatever you like. Just go all out, guys. Go all out. Because it is your studies at the end of the day, and if something does go wrong, it would. I wouldn't say it would be your fault because I mean the circumstances and stuff. However, you need to be responsible into maintaining and getting back to where it was. Okay, so here's a quick summary as well. In order to improve your study memory, you need to always think about the goal of why you are learning. Why did you pick those subjects? It might have been interesting or whatever. Maybe you could have also done research on it, and it did seem interesting at the time. Um, but one thing I can say, subjects do get difficult and times like that. But maybe also think of it like I I started it, I will overcome it. There's no two ways about it. I'm that person. I'm that type of person. If I do start something, I will finish it. No matter how long it takes, what happens, I will finish it. That's just how it is. And sometimes if you have that mindset, you can overcome anything with failure and with everything else. It's difficult, but not impossible. Okay. Your strongest learning style. There we go. Visual, auditory, for instance, is recommended, or even kinesthetic. Maybe you like to move around or actually do the thing. It's various different things, but yeah, that's brings us to the end of memory, normal memory, and then soon we will. Well, the next section is long-term memory. So we will look at the more long-term from like a month ago or now or whatever, and we'll take it from there. And I hope you guys are fine. And if you guys do have questions, comments, or anything else, please feel free. And Sile, would you like to add anything
Okay.
before I move on?
Yeah, perfect. So that was a great section, Kadir. I think Personally, guys, I don't know about you, but if I had to look at this whole presentation, if there's anything I had to take out of it, I would take out the gulp acronym. So what could basically the last thing that Kadir mentioned. And just to go over that again, gulp is get it, use it, link it, and picture it. Right. So most of the learning process happens when you're in class. Remember, you've probably heard your teacher say several times, if you listen in class attentively, right, and you actually pay attention, most of the knowledge is already retained, but is retained for a short period of time. And then Kadir, of course, in the next document is going to go into probably the difference between short-term and long-term memory. So it's stored in your short-term memory, and if you like if you like IT and stuff like that, just think of it as RAM versus ROM, right? So RAM being your short-term memory and ROM being your long-term memory. And what happens after a while, after you switch off, essentially, as if you were a computer, you lose that knowledge. So then we go into the use it step, which is after you come home. We don't like homework, guys. But what's the best way to remember it? And remember, every step that you take during the year makes studying for the final exams or for your assessments easier. If you come home and you revise, you review material, you highlight, you make your notes, stuff like that, it makes it a lot easier. Right. So, for example, myself, I pay attention in lectures. I'll come home and I'll review it because that's what we have to do at campus. We'll review our notes, we'll highlight, we'll make little summaries. So now that goes into the linking process, or the link it process, rather. Now, that depends on what type of learner you are. If you're a visual, then make mind maps, make little acronyms and mnemonics and stuff like that. People love that kind of stuff. For example, in auditing, we have several different acronyms and mnemonics just because it makes it easier to remember all the content that we need to try and study, right? So at a school level, if you're talking about business or bio, like if you have to think of a list of things, write down the first word of each sentence, maybe, or each key point, and then try and make an acronym out of it. And that's the best way to remember it. Trust me, it helps. If you're an auditory learner, then maybe make a voice note. Some people don't like listening to their own voices. Some people actually find it quite helpful. So, just like Kadir mentioned, when you teach someone else, it helps you retain knowledge, but you can use it to teach yourself. So, quickly study something and then make a voice note of yourself speaking about the section, and then you can always just visit that later and listen to it again. And the last thing is picture it. So create a visual image or use color and all those kind of things. Again, that depends on what kind of learner you are. So picture it or listen to it, whatever you want. That's the best way to do it. If you're kinesthetic, for example, as Kadir mentioned, maybe you prefer performing experiments. So when it comes to physics, if you want to experiment with Newton's laws, like for example, making sure that all objects reach a certain terminal velocity and they'll hit the ground at the same time. I'm sure most of you that have done physics have heard of that experiment. Drop a bowling ball, drop a feather. Listen, it might not work perfectly because of air resistance. We know this, but then like try those kind of things. I mean, it's fun, right? Try and make the learning process fun. So that also being said, we're living in this whole new age, the fourth industrial revolution, and then plus that with a pandemic at the moment. Look at how we're doing it. We're having a boot camp over a Zoom YouTube combination video, live stream, whatever you want to call it, and we're actually able to convey that knowledge to you. That's exactly what we do at Gift for the Educators, right? We have an online division and a physical or contact division, which again I'll get into more detail about. But there's so many things we can use. They're literally apps. So like let's talk about getting up in the morning, just quickly, right? For an example, who doesn't like getting up in the morning? I'm pretty sure that's everyone. Because I mean, why would you want to get out of bed, especially in winter? So there are apps where you can actually set your alarm in such a way that it only switches off after you play a memory game. How crazy is that? So basically, you wake up, you look at your phone, it gives you like a little picture with certain blocks on it, and then it switches like over onto a blank like sheet after 2 or 3 seconds, and then you have to input the same blocks in the same spaces in order to switch off your alarm. So by that time, you're already awake, your mind is already active, and you're working on improving your memory when your brain is least functional. So how crazy is that? So there's so many cool things that we can do to try and make things fun. Some people might think that getting up like that isn't fun. Maybe it isn't. But hey, at least it encourages you to keep learning and keep improving. So just keep, the way the world is going, we're continuously improving, continuously finding new ways of doing things. There's new technology coming about. And also, a gift for the educators. I mean, Kadir can probably tell you about it. We're always looking for new, innovative ways to improve, to teach you guys new styles of learning and things of that sort. So, yeah, I'll get into more detail about that at the end of the boot camp. And yeah, that's basically when it comes to like short-term memory and just how to make sure that you make studying easier for yourself by reviewing your notes continuously. All right, thank you. Kadir, back to you. And if you guys have any other questions, yeah, please just feel free to drop your comments in the comment section and we'll get to it as we go along.
Okay, thanks for that. And yeah, just when you're performing the experiments, don't hurt yourself, guys. Be be very responsible. But other than that, that's all for this section. If you guys do have questions or you want me to go back to a specific page or to a specific concept, just comment and I will be sure to go over it again. So you can accumulate the comments, and then in the end we can maybe go through the different documents, and then you can see what you like, and then if you want an explanation, just go ahead, feel free to ask. Okay, so we're going to move on to long-term memory now.
All right,
And
so Kadir, just as you're switching documents, I mean, you can continue. I just want to answer this question. So we have a question in the comment section. Will this live be saved and will it be posted after this? So yes, it will be in our workshop playlist on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to check it out there. And then will this document be made available? So we will make these documents available. Feel free to get in touch with me via email, via WhatsApp, and then we can always chat to you. All the other resources, however, additional links, additional resources will only be made available to Gift of the Educator students. And I will go a bit more into detail about that process, about how to enroll with us and stuff like that towards the end of this boot camp, obviously. So this is basic information, but if you want a lot more detailed, summarized information, things of that sort, other information that we have, then that will only be made available to our students. And yeah, I'll speak more about that after the session. So hopefully that answers your question. And then I see that Kadir is already zoomed in. So if that's okay with you guys, please let us know. And I'll let Kadir continue. Thanks, Kadir.
okay, no problem. There is short-term and long-term memory. Sai hit the nail on the head. No, I'm just kidding, man. But anyway, so I'm a lot more fun person, guys. Trust me. um, I hope you guys are not sleeping, eh? Like, yo. But anyway, I hope you guys are paying attention and actually, even if it's not everything, as long as you guys did learn something, I'm happy. Okay, so our brain is really complex. I'm sure everybody knows that from watching maybe medical, CSI, criminal minds, and all of that. If you if something happens to your mind, it's really not a good thing. But yeah, so it is. Our mind is really amazing with a lot of various functions, and there is short-term and long-term memory. And how we strengthen our memory depends on what type of learner we are. A lot of things are not fixed in this thing, but it's more of a guideline. It can be, how can I say, it can be tailor made to you in the various ways you enjoy or you prefer. Excuse me. But other than that, I feel that there are really important things, because like if you have to do something immediately and you get it done, that's more in the short term. But if you need to retain it for your career, or you need to be able to say, listen, a debit is like this and a credit is like this, you need to be able to have long term. So short term and long term memory is really important in various ways. And once we understand that, we can basically achieve our goals in the various ways we see possible. Okay, so short-term memory helps students to recall new information so that they can tackle the task at hand. Okay, so it's more called the working memory, and I'm not gonna really lecture you guys about this since you guys know more about long-term and short-term memory. I'm just gonna go over these numbers. This is the dependent on the number of factors being interested in what you learned. So then again, everything does link up to each other if you want to look at it in that sense. These three documents complement each other in various ways, and a lot of these things are repetitive. However, even in the textbook, okay, I can give you a tip as I'm speaking. Things are repetitive, it means it's important. So focus more on those. Okay, that's just the tip that I can give you guys. Um, See the value in your material is basically more repetitive now, because we really do want to work on long-term memory and short-term memory. So if it's really important to you, you will remember it in the long term. If it's not, it'll be gone by the next few days, weeks, whatever you however you are. But anyways, so I just want to take you through this table. So it's a sensory register, excuse me, short-term or working memory, long-term memory, and types of long-term memory. Okay, so there we go. So the sensory register is memory that is formed when information is first picked up through any of our five senses. And hey, if you are using all five senses, I mean, that's even great. I mean, if you can talk to yourself, walk, write, and speak, and you're learning everything, that's great. But if you prefer to write and speak to yourself, it's different. It's different for everyone. Just find the various ways which you can understand. I don't really want to go too much into that because I don't want it to seem like a class, a life orientation class where I'm going to through this or that, because this is meant to just give you some guidance and stuff, not to really lecture you on the stuff. Okay, so the short-term memory, as we've been speaking about uh, throughout, as well as long-term. So the short-term stores information for limited duration before either decaying or transferring it to long-term memory. So there's only two ways that this can happen from short-term memory. It can either go straight to your long-term or it can be discarded. Um, so it depends on you and what we've discussed so far, how you feel on your studies and how you want to achieve, and even motivation. Sometimes you have everything. It's just that sometimes you need motivation. Um, I would say that quotes and Google is a lot of good motivation. Um, excuse me for that. So I would also think that it's more towards how you feel. And if you really do need motivation, your parents are there, your siblings are there, older, maybe even younger. I mean, don't ever, um, how can I say, see something for age, because you can get motivation maybe from a smaller person, elder person. It depends. People are different in various ways. And if you do need motivation, Google, watch some YouTube videos, watch some gym videos. I mean, that's what I do. And it does get me pumped now and then. And sometimes you're just tired. If you are tired, you're not going to retain anything. Trust me. And yeah, that's just some tips that I can give you. I'm not going to go on too much about that. Let me just carry on with the long term memory. Um, Storing, managing, and retrieving information. So it's basically like the archives. So on WhatsApp, when you select all your chats and you archive it, or for iPhones, you swipe left or right. Can't remember, but yeah, you swipe, and then in that's basically your short-term memory. What's not archived, and what's archived is basically your long-term, if that makes sense. Types of long-term memory is oh, it just got a bit uh, cut off, but so okay, I can just go through these parts here where it says stores thoughts and remembers by. So long-term memory, whatever you think about. So if you're thinking about your studies and the various concepts, it's stored by thought. I will get back if further we have another boot camp. I will be able to research that for you guys and get back to you. And when you remember it, it's like basically, I would say, in my opinion, is more parrot learning. But if you think about it, it's more thoughts is more understanding. There are various people that it works for them, so whichever works, go for it. Autobiographical memory and stores our life experiences. So these are the different types of memories, and if you are basically learning effectively, it can be stored in all three. I don't know if that's possible, but yeah, if you think about it, or if you remember it, or if you put yourself in the scenario, like I said, put your name rather instead of the person that's there, it could help. I mean, that's the memory, and it's something that is really interesting. I can just leave it at that. um yeah, I'm gonna move on because I don't really want to lecture you guys, but yeah. So strategies for strengthening our long-term memory. These are basic strategies: selectivity and association, visualization, elaboration, concentration. They're all the shins. So it's like a rhyme. You can maybe make a poem out of it. No, I'm joking. I'm just joking. But yeah, I'm gonna start from the start. Selectivity, sorting out the main ideas. from the insignificant details, or if you want from the significant to the insignificant, depends on you. So just say if you know a topic well, like maybe physics, you understand Newton's laws better than work, energy, and power. You would I would work on my weaknesses. However, I would not forget my strengths. So if I am doing work, energy, and power, I'm not going to spend all my time. I also want to work a bit on Newton's laws. So there's a good balance. Because what good is it if you're working on your weaknesses, but you forget your strengths? Then if you do mess up in your weaknesses, you do have something to fall back on. Okay, so that's what I want to say. And then association, visualization, you guys can give your own meanings to these words. Elaboration, so association is making acquaintance basically, and visualization, looking at it. Elaborate is basically explain. So you get these fancy words, and then instead of, you see in these scenarios, you're like, why can't you just say explain? But they will be elaborate. So it's just also different perspectives, I guess. Concentration, recitation is basically parrot, like over. Um, I don't know if you guys remember set one from primary school. I still remember it to this day because of parrot learning. When they say I love mom, dad, brother, sister, is oh my at, that was basically parrot learning. And that's how I learned that thing. I don't know set two, but set one all the way. I guess my mind was very fresh that time. But yeah, what's your intention of the main heading, which is strategies for long term? So keep that in mind. This is more for long term. Okay, it does apply maybe to short term, but I wouldn't spend too much time on short term memory, because if it's important, you will retain it in the long term. If not, it'll be discarded. Intention, big and little picture, and feedback. So in accounting, there's always a little picture. So one concept. So I would look at maybe employee benefits. Okay. However, it does apply in various other ways, such as tax, such as contributions, UIF, medical aid, stuff like that. So there is a smaller picture and a bigger picture. Maybe if you like look at the bigger picture to get a bigger understanding, and then you can focus and dig deeper into the little picture to understand the the specific concept. Okay, feedback is basically tests. That's all I can explain, or yeah, tests and how do I understand the work. Okay, okay, there's actually more. What a surprise! I'm looking. um, so organizations, well organized information is easier to remember. With me, I'm very specific in the way I do notes. I like to go unit by unit, even though they say do this unit first. I'll still do the unit, and then the unit that was supposed to be done after, I'll do it first and go into the sequence. I won't just jump. Okay, I used to be like that because I like to jump around a lot when it comes to this question. Look at everything, because you tend to jump around a lot when there's a lot of ideas flowing to your mind. So if I'm busy writing down everything and I'm thinking, okay, this can be done, that can be done, that is more how I jump around. But organization when it comes to notes and stuff. So for different things, I would say I do different things. So that could also work for you. Um, Time on task, spend sufficient time learning the material. Um, that is basically self-explanatory, because if you're not spending enough time on learning something, you're not gonna remember it. Practice previously learned material. So, like I said, if you wanna learn something that you did a month ago today, think of how you thought of it back then. Okay, I hope I didn't just scan through too fast through these things, because most of these things are self-explanatory. And when you guys do understand self-explanatory stuff, you tend to fall asleep easier, because it's basically second nature. So I don't really want to go over these things in depth, because I've been speaking about it throughout. Sahil has given points and also helped us in understanding things better and stuff like that. Because they always remember people have different perspectives. I might have forgotten the things about the first topic, but I'll remember the different mindsets, the fixed and the growth. Like, people do have different perspectives, and it does help. So maybe even ask someone who is maybe smarter than you or something, and not taking it as an insult or anything, but there is smarter people around, and sometimes if you admit it and you're willing to learn, that's growth. If you fixed, be like, then if you have a fixed mindset, you'll be like, no, um they smart, they won't want to help me. Okay, you do get people like that. I mean, there is different types of people, but if someone is willing to help you, make use of that help. Yeah, so that's basically throughout. The additional resources, like Sahil said, is going to be made available, but arrangements can be made. But the summary that I want to just go over is memory is an essential part. Well, memory is everything. Because if I can give a stupid example or silly example, it would be remembering your name. You won't forget it. If you didn't remember it, you wouldn't know who you are. But use your various sensors, use all your resources to enhance your memory for academic success. Sufficient practice, guys. Practice, practice, practice. Accounting, I know, is a bit of a difficult subject sometimes, but you need to overcome it and practice, practice, practice. Past papers. You can go over the content, but if I'm being honest about how I studied accounting, is past papers. We would go over the theory like maybe 5 minutes in the morning or something, but once you understand the principle by practicing, that's how it is. I'm not saying do it for all subjects; it's just specific to accounting. But yeah, practice, practice, practice. Okay, just these are the references that were used in this presentation. Um, yeah, and also I would like to reference UJ. I'm not a person to plagiarize because there are serious consequences to that. So yeah, Sahil, would you like to say anything or make me go over anything again?
Okay, yeah. So thanks for that, Kadir. Hopefully everyone understands now the difference between short-term memory and long-term memory, especially with that little analogy that we use, the whole RAM and ROM. So read-only memory and then read-access memory. And basically, so I'm not an IT boffin, but if you are, then I mean you'll get the analogy. So if you have any questions relating to the stuff that Kadir mentioned already for the three documents, please feel free to just drop it into the comment section, and we'll go through that in the Q&A. So also, sorry, I just need to apologize. If you see that I've been looking down a lot, it's just so that I'm monitoring the comment section and things like that. So it's not that I'm disinterested. So yeah, just a heads up. And I'll let the comments come in and then we'll move into a quick Q&A. But that being said, a few of our tutors couldn't make it today because of other commitments, and some of them are just camera shy, so that's understandable. So they've sent some of their work, which we've discussed already, and then our matric maths tutor, Kalevani Marimutu, has actually basically compiled a little document with a lot of summary techniques for like mathematics that's also applicable to physics, because we understand that every subject has different ways of studying. So we've looked at like very study intense subjects with a lot of content. Now let's look at a bit more of application. So she basically says make sure that you use the Pomodoro effect, which Kadir mentioned already, studying for 25 minutes at a time and a 5 minute break, because it's super effective if you're a big procrastinator. Then, when doing your maths homework or physics homework, and you're working through, or when you're working through past papers, make sure that you always keep a formula sheet next to you, because they really do come in handy when you're stuck on a problem. Right. So, with that being said, don't spend too much time on one question if you're doing like a past paper or something like that, if you're stuck on it, because chances are um, the same the answer is staring at you and you're just complicating the whole scenario, and that really happens a lot. So if you think about it, you overcomplicate something, especially if it's like a theory question or conceptual question in accounting, or if we're looking at a physics question, you might be like, okay, this seems a bit too simple, could they be thinking of it this way, could they be doing it this way, and then you end up just missing the answer because you're overcomplicating it. Rather, she says, just put a smiley face next to it and work through other questions and come back to the difficult question with a fresh mind. That is really important. Like Adir mentioned also during this whole presentation boot camp, if you're tired, you're not going to effectively learn. And that's just how it is. So if you know that you have different subjects, so like of course we're going to go through like study timetables and stuff like that. It's based on your own outlook and how you want to schedule yourself. But what we recommend is that you do a very application based subject and then do a very theoretical subject and then move on to an application based subject. So in your intervals, you switch between each. It basically allows you to give yourself a bit of a breather for the application subjects, refresh your mind, and then just do a bit of para learning, as Kadir mentioned, and then learn your theoretical subjects. And then you can come back to your application questions when you're a bit fresher. And then also in your breaks, make sure that you drink a lot of water, things like that. It's really important to keep fresh, to try and find the best possible environment to learn on, and all those kind of things. We're going to go into a lot more detail in other videos about how to set up the ideal studying environment, and things of that sort. Right. So she also says keep a positive attitude. Maths is only as complicated as you make it. So lots of people say that they hate maths and they don't see the application in it, and that's already a negative outlook. Like Kadir mentioned earlier, your mindset, your negative attitude really affects how you study. So if you have a negative outlook on maths, obviously maths is not going to be your friend. So try and be positive about it. Try and look forward to learning maths, and you will be surprised how effective that actually is. All right. So it is really important that you do not use the oh yes method when studying for maths. So what is the oh yes method, right? And it's basically when you're working through a past paper and you have the solution paper right next to you, like, so you're working through it, and here's your memo or your model answer and whatever it might be, and then you basically look at the solution before actually finishing the question. You might read the question, not actually attempt it, and then just say, oh yes, I remember this. That's not effective at all. All right. So you are learning absolutely nothing in that process, and it's extremely important to remember to attempt each problem by yourself. So, in summary, what Kalai is saying here is that more often than not, when we're practicing maths or physics or even accounting, whether it be at tertiary level or even secondary level, what we like to do is we like to print out our question paper, like our past paper, and we like to print out a memo. And our memo is going to sit right next to us on our left. That's already number one temptation. So, if you have a good relationship with a friend or your parents, ask them to keep the memo. That's the most important thing that I would suggest. So you're not already tempted to look at the memo. Do the past paper, time it, make sure that you try and complete it in the same time that's been allocated to you, right? So if your physics paper is 3 hours long, try and complete it in 3 hours and then mark it afterwards. I mean, even from personal experience, I can speak from the fact that saying, I'll look through a question, right? And then I'll do, let's say, question one, part A, and then I'll do the whole question. And then let's say there's different, so we call it scaffolding, right? Remember that different questions have different segments or different scaffolds to it, so different levels, different steps. So when you get to like a tertiary education, they don't give you like 1A, 1B, 1C. They'll just tell you like calculate profit, or they'll tell you calculate, X in this scenario, and they won't give you like the steps or a question that guides you in the right direction. So what happens is when we're done with a certain portion of the question, we'll be tempted to refer to the memo to make sure that we're correct before continuing. But what happens as soon as we do that? As soon as we refer to that section in that question to try and see the answer, we're automatically tempted to look at the following, part of the question before we actually even attempt it. And then what happens? You gain no benefit. You'll just be like, okay, yes, that's what I was thinking. But then when you get to an exam, you'll be like, oh man, I didn't actually practice this. I remember it vaguely in my mind what it looked like, but I don't know how to get to that answer. So don't practice the oh yes method, okay? Get someone to keep the memo for you, do the paper, and then come back to it. That's really important. So, with that being said, what should you do if you really don't know where to start with the problem? Right. So Kadai says, first read through the question thoroughly and highlight if you need to. Right. So basically, read through the scenario. If you're reading through accounting, you get a lot of scenario-based questions. Read through it. Make sure that you understand it. Highlight what you need to understand. For example, in accounting, certain amounts of VAT inclusive, VAT exclusive. So wherever you see VAT inclusive, VAT exclusive, highlight that. Make sure you don't highlight everything, otherwise what's the point of highlighting in the first place? Okay, so next, I know it's tempting to first look at the solution, but you should write down all the information you're given and try simplify it as far as possible. Put it into the correct formulas and try and manipulate it into a better form that is familiar to you. So we see this a lot in science. We're given one formula, and the question asks, so let's quickly look at something simple. V is equal to I times R, right? So let's look at electric circuits. They tell you to calculate resistance, and you're like, oh wait, I only have a formula to calculate velocity. Voltage, not velocity. And then you wonder to yourself, how do I calculate resistance? Whereas most of the time, students don't realize or remember the fact that you can actually manipulate that formula to try and get it to look like what you're trying to solve. So that's essentially what she's trying to say here. And it's likely that you'll get a few marks from this, which is better than no marks at all. So really write down the formula, try and manipulate it to try and find out what you're looking for, And that's why it's really important to understand the work that you're doing. So when I get more in a bit more into about what we do as an organization, you'll understand how we help you understand the work rather than just parrot learn. Because as Kadir said, what's the point of parrot learning? Anyone can do that. It doesn't actually add any value, right? So if you don't understand a problem or a topic, your tutor is only a message away. Now, Kalai is already speaking a bit about us as an organization, and I'll get a bit more into detail about that. But successful students make use of all the resources they have and aren't afraid to ask for help. So, like Kadir said, there's always a friend or someone that you can consult. But then with us, if you're enrolled in our programs, listen, you have access to us 24/7. Trust me, you can ask Kadir as well. If you send him a message at 2 o'clock in the morning, okay, he's probably not going to reply at 2 o'clock in the morning, but he'll reply first thing in the morning as soon as he sees your message. So that's how we are. We're on top of the ball, and we want to make sure that that you get the best out of it. And then her most important point and her last point is practice, practice, practice. We can't emphasize this enough. All right. So, um, okay, so we have a question quickly asking what our YouTube channel is. If you scroll up, it should allow you to see the name of the channel, but basically it's called Gift of the Educators. Right. So I will try and display it or drop a comment in the comment section with the title, maybe after the video has been posted. So just feel free to check it out. But it's known as Gift of the Educators. You can always just feel free to click on the link again, and it should take you back to the recording. We will make sure that our IT team has that sorted out, so you guys will be able to refer to that. But yeah, so that's the name of our YouTube channel, and obviously there will be more details. Like I said, in the description, you can feel free to visit all our social media platforms, visit our website. You can submit a contact request form, which will automatically send an email to me, or you can just feel free to send an email, that kind of thing. Call me, send me a WhatsApp. We're always willing to help. So, that being said, if there are any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section. I don't see anything else. So, I am going to quickly explain a little bit more about the organization. But before that, Kadir, is there anything else you'd like to say before I go into a bit more detail about who we are and things that we do?
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, can you hear
Okay. So, like, there's a few things that I could add for the various learners. So, with kinesthetic, you like to move a lot. So, what I would suggest, so what I tried once, I've had key cards or like my notes, and I was pacing up and down the room. That could help because your body is actually moving and you reading your things, and it's actually, if you move a lot, you'll remember better. Or you could maybe, while you're doing something else, read. Okay, this is not for when it's exam time, this is just like for practice. Like, read a bit, keep it on the side of you, read a bit, carry on with something else that you're doing, then do it again. Maybe that could also help, because with kinesthetic, I feel that the mind is more active. So um, maybe that could work. So with visual, I feel highlighting notes, and auditory, like you said, voice notes. That's what I would like to add, and that's fine, I guess. I'm done. Of speaking about different things, because I'm gonna sound like I'm going on and on. But yeah, if you would like to add anything else from the studying perspective, go ahead. And yeah.
All right, cool. So thank you so much, Kadir. Thank you also for all the knowledge and experience that you've shared and for all the expertise. I'm most certain that a lot of the students found that beneficial. Guys, if you did, please just feel free to drop a comment in the section. Let us know if it actually was beneficial. And again, this video will be made available. So remember, the whole idea behind learning is we learn to remember, not learn to forget. Learning has a purpose in our lives, and we never actually know when things will become of use. So even when people are speaking, we want to make an attempt to listen to people so that we can retain that knowledge. So there are various different studying techniques and different studying methods. And for example, if you like gymming, you can always just have key cards and stuff like that as you're doing push-ups, sit-ups, whatever it is. If you're gymming and you like watching TV, feel free to play like a lecture video, just things like that. So when you're also doing things that you enjoy, try and incorporate learning in that way. You know. So that being said, before I go into a bit more about the organization, since you have access to our tutors, what you also have access is basically speaking to your tutor and saying, this is the type of student you are. And our tutors can help you mold a type of studying routine, not necessarily a routine, but maybe just give you suggestions that might actually be suited towards you. So we're all very, I wouldn't say we're 100% knowledgeable about the topic, but we can help you basically figure out what will be effective for you. So remember, what we've done today is just some general tips and study tools and things like that that will help students in general. But if you personally would like to get in touch with our tutors, feel free to enroll for one of our programs, come to one of our sessions, and then feel free to message a tutor and then find out exactly um, what you think would be best suited for you. All right. So that being said, gift of the educators, right? So let's talk a bit more about the organization quickly, what we have to offer, and how we help students. So we have two divisions. The one division is operating at the moment, the other is not because of the pandemic. So the division that's operating at the moment is the online division, the online tutoring division, and essentially it's exactly like what we're doing right now. It's based on a Zoom call where we have our different learners come in, and we have three different subjects that we offer, which is accounting, math, and physics at different times. The details and all of that stuff are on our website, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. But basically, the online division via Zoom is for paying students, so students that are able to afford it. And then what we do with that is the revenue generated from the online division is then put towards the education of students that can't afford it. Now, all of that again is on our website. How we determine underprivileged students is based on the SEM, or the socio-economic measure model. And if you fall in SEM levels 3 and below, then you qualify as underprivileged. But I'm not going to go into too much detail on that either. All I want to let you know is that our tuition program and our sessions take place every Saturday for 3 hours per subject, and they're catered in a very specific way. So our program is 1 hour of theory, usually 1.5 hours of practical work, and then half an hour of Q&A. So what happens here is the theory, yes, we speak about the theory like the same stuff that you would be taught in school, but we take it a step above that. We basically speak to you about why it's important to understand this work, how it's relevant, and all those kind of things as well. So you see, instead of just learning for the sake of learning, now we're teaching you why you're learning it and why it's important and why it's relevant. And then we go into the 1.5 hour practical work. So we're already now engaging you in practice. We're showing you how it's applied. We're helping you review the work that you just learned. We're helping you basically make notes as you're learning and things of that sort. We have different tutors that tutor in different styles. So some tutors like to use PowerPoints, and that'll all be made available to our students as well. You can feel free to also just check out our website for testimonials from previous students, um, and things of that sort. And of course, the best thing about the online division is that these 3 hour sessions are recorded. So, for example, if you can't make your session, which you've already enrolled for, or alternatively you have made your session, you would still like the recording, then that will be made available to you. So if you want to go back and check it out and things of that sort, then you can feel free. The live Q&A session basically makes it feel like you're there in person with your tutor without having to be there in person. So it's convenient, it's safe, it's really affordable for students that can afford it. And yeah, for more details, feel free to just check out our website and get in touch with one of us, and then we'll get you enrolled in the program as soon as possible. So we hope to see you in the program. And with that being said, please feel free to check out the other videos on our channel as well. So our About Us playlist, which is basically telling us a bit more, telling you a bit more about the organization, who we are, introducing you to the different tutors, what we do, a little bit more in depth, and then it also allows you to visualize what I've just said. It also shows you how we do our progress reports, so we keep parents very involved in the process. We basically give reports similar to schools, but the only difference with that is we do it on a monthly basis. So you'll receive your report on a monthly basis with your own feedback, plus that of an assessment that we provide you with. So you do an assessment on a monthly basis. It's set at the highest possible standard, and we monitor your progress personally. So we don't rely just on schools because, number one, schools might not finish the syllabus, whereas we will. And two, we will test you to ensure that you're prepared for anything that they can throw at you. So you see what we're doing is just think of that whole GULP acronym that Kadir mentioned earlier. We're basically helping you get it because now you're attending your session, you're going to listen and you're going to pay attention. We're going to help you use it because now obviously you're going to review it, you're going to do your application, things like that. We're going to link it because again, you're going to give you PowerPoints and we're going to show you how to make notes. Maybe not necessarily show you how to make notes, but just give you suggestions and things like that. And then picture it because now you're just visualizing things and you're getting that one-on-one session. And best of all, your assessments allow you to determine where you are at that point in time and where you want to be. And of course, I'm not going to go into any more detail about that. Visit our other videos, find out a bit more about what it is, what it looks like, how we do things. And really, you'll see that the fourth industrial revolution has allowed us to revolutionize education for both those that can afford it and those that cannot afford it. So with that being said, again, if you have any other comments that you would like to drop in the comment section, feel free. For future boot camps, we'd like your suggestions, please, as well. Would you prefer to have them like this? Would you prefer to have all videos live streamed? Would you still like our motivational videos to be recorded so that you can refer to them? Things like that. If, for example, you have any other suggestions, feel free to drop it in the comment section. Our next workshop will most likely be an exam technique workshop. So with prelims coming up for a lot of students and stuff like that, we've gone over study skills, we've gone over how to prep for exams, but then we're going to go into the very specifics for our subjects, three subjects that we cater for mainly: maths, physics, and accounting, in terms of how to answer your exam questions. That is really important, and that's another big thing that we see that students struggle with. So we're going to have a lot of workshops and stuff like that in the future. We're going to have a lot of motivational videos that'll teach you about how to best live your life and how to achieve what you want to achieve. So yeah, that's being said. So I'm glad I see a few comments in the comment section saying that it was helpful. I'm grateful, and thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. As you can see that we've dropped our contact details. My email is there as at the moment as well. So feel free just to get in touch with me, send me an email, find out more about our program, send it to your parents, send it to your school. If your school would like to partner with us, we're more than willing. And even if you are able, or if you're a school that's currently tuned in and you want us to come and present at your school just to tell the students what we're about and how we benefit underprivileged students, how we bring them into our offices and educate them, we're more than willing to do that. So that being said, guys, in short, thank you so much for tuning in. We really hope that this was a very beneficial session. We hope that you've gotten the information that you came for. Again, contact me to either enroll, get access to information that we've spoken about today, and then even further to get access to more information and access to our tutors by enrolling in our programs and then querying about our benefits, especially if you're a parent. See the benefit from both the student and parent perspective. All right, so please, yeah, feel free to visit our channel name or channel link homepage to see the rest of our videos, the rest of our playlists, and most importantly, if you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like, a comment in general if you haven't, subscribe, and most importantly, please share with other students that you think would find this beneficial. If you really found this bootcamp beneficial, then for future bootcamps, I mean, if you think it would benefit your friends, other colleagues, and classmates, feel free to share the links. We'll always get it out a day before and send frequent reminders. We'll let you know when the next bootcamp will be. And yeah, so as I mentioned, the next bootcamp will most likely be an exam technique bootcamp. So yeah, that's it from my side. Kadir, anything else that you would like to say before we wrap it up?
No, I've basically spoke a lot, so I think people are tired of me, so I'm good. I just hope this was beneficial, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you need anything else, Sahil is there, and he will direct any questions, and we can get back to you. That's it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, guys. We hope to see you as a part of this Gift to the Educators family. We hope to help you achieve the goals that you want to achieve and the academic marks that you want to achieve. And we want to help you be where you want to be in the future. So, that being said, please feel free to get in touch with us. Feel free to check out our other videos. And we look forward to hearing from you and seeing you enrolled in our program soon. Thank you so much. That's it from our side, and we'll be in touch. Have a good one.
Bye.